Today we're going to be looking at Exodus 12, verses 1 through 11. It says, the first month, on the 10th day, Israel needed to take a lamb, one for each household. If the household is too small for a whole lamb, share it with a neighbor. The amount of lamb should be in accordance with what people will eat. They must be a year-old male animals. And on the 14th day of the month, all of Israel must slaughter the animals by twilight. At twilight. I don't know why I put by. It says at twilight. And they must eat the meat that night, roasting it over a fire. It must all be eaten by morning or burn the leftovers. Eat with a cloak tucked in your belt, sandals on your feet, staff in hand. Eat quickly. And one thing I wanted to note about these instructions were that they were very specific instructions from the Lord. And I thought immediately of Pharaoh and Aaron Moses and Aaron going back and forth to Pharaoh. And the Israelites saw for themselves, Moses would say, God said, let us go, or you will have locusts. God said, let us go, or you'll have blood in the Nile. The Israelites saw that, Pharaoh saw that, but the Israelites saw that too. And so I think that it allowed them to have that trust that, okay, Moses and Aaron really is hearing from the Lord. And so when Moses and Aaron had these very specific instructions, it said that they spoke to the elders and they immediately responded and listened. The same God that brought blood to the Nile is the same God that's telling them to do all these specific instructions. And God is so purposeful. There was something that happened in my life this year, and every time I think about it, it bothers me. And I kind of think, okay, well, maybe I made a mistake and, God didn't want that to happen. But one thing that I've learned is, especially when you're walking with God, things don't just happen by chance. He places things in our life sometimes to teach us something. And maybe even if we don't realize why he's doing it now, one day, whether it's, in this life or the next, we will find out why. There's a reason why God does things. He's purposeful for things. And so I say all that to say, he's telling them very specific things. And, they listen. And the most important thing is they were to put blood on the doorposts. That way, the death of all firstborn males will pass over those homes, the Israelite homes, the people of God. And so verses 12 through 16 goes on. The Lord will strike all firstborn, even the livestock. I was surprised. I didn't realize it was livestock as well, of the Egyptians. For 7 days, the Israelites were to abstain from yeast. Otherwise, they'd be cut off from Israel. And I was like, wow, that's kind of intense, God. I had to look it up. I looked it up in the Enduring Word. And it said that yeast is a representation of sin. A little yeast influenced an entire lump of dough. It also puffs up. Yeast makes dough rise, and that can be a representation of pride. It puffs up. And so because of that yeast, that representation of sin, it was not allowed. And so if anyone had yeast in their home, they would be cut off. Very serious. So God was telling the Israelites, to turn your hearts towards him. He wanted them to turn their hearts towards him and their ways towards him. Verses 17 through 20, the Israelites were instructed to celebrate as they will be taken out of Egypt. Eat bread without yeast from the 14th to the 21st. And this is still celebrated today. The Passover is still celebrated today by the Jews. Verses 20 through 28, Moses instructed the elders to act immediately. Put blood on the doorframe to be spared. And the Israelites worshipped and obeyed. So God didn't come and do anything yet. He just told them what would happen. And they worshipped and they obeyed before they knew what the outcome would be. And sometimes we need to do that, all the time. We need to do that all the time. We need to worship and obey. 2020 has been a rough year. Everyone has gone through this pandemic, certainly in different degrees. I saw something online that says, we are all in the same storm, but we're not all in the same boat. Some people are in canoes, some people are in lifeboats, some people are in yachts, and it's true. This pandemic has affected us all differently, but we still must all worship and obey before we see, the good things that God is going to bring about. And I do believe that, good days are ahead, brighter days are ahead. Verse 29 through 30, there was not a house without someone dead in Egypt. And it says that there was a loud cry at midnight. And a lot of times in the Bible, things happen at midnight and at dawn, or at dawn. I think that's just the significance of something new. Midnight is a new day. The dawn is a new day, new morning. Same thing with twilight. So when they were supposed to eat the lamb at twilight, that was something coming to an end. The day is coming to an end. Twilight is when the sun is setting and darkness is going to approach. And that day is coming to an end, just like their time in Egypt was coming to an end. Verses 31 through 32. Pharaoh allowed them to go. And, he also said, and bless me. So, he knew the power of God. He just didn't believe it for himself, for his own life, which is sad. Verses 33 through, I think, 36. The Israelites left, and they also took silver and gold with them because God gave them favor with the Egyptians. So God even, their firstborn had all passed, because of the Israelites, God, if you will. And God gave them favor so that they were able to take gold and silver. If someone hurt me, I don't want them to take my gold and silver, figuratively speaking. But God gave them that favor. And so not only did, God seek vengeance, and that's one thing we have to remember too. When someone hurts you and someone wrongs you, leave it to God. He will take care of it, and He rights every wrong. And so they plundered the Egyptians, and then they were encouraged to leave quickly. Verses 37 through 39. 600,000 men were on foot, besides women and children. So it was just 600,000 men. And then there was women and children on top of that. So it's probably double this number easily. And it says many other people went also with livestock. So it was a lot of people that were leaving Egypt, which is ironic because the Israelites started off with, the Jacob and his sons, and look at how much they multiplied. It's really incredible. The Israelites lived in Egypt for 430 years to the day. So 430 years to the day, that's when God provided a way for them to go. So that's a long time, and that's why it was such a large crowd of people. Verses 43 through 50. Passover restrictions. So no foreigner may eat of it. It has to be eaten inside the house. Do not break the bones of the animals. The whole community must celebrate. A foreigner residing among the Israelites must have all males in this household circumcised. So if a foreigner, not anyone can just eat of the Passover meal. This is just kind of God's way of seeing. And circumcision, if you think about it, is the cutting of flesh that is not like today. Back then, they didn't have anesthesia, and it was painful. It hurt. And so if someone was really wanting to be a person of God, circumcision was back then. Now, we don't do that any longer. We have Jesus who died for us. But circumcision was one way that they showed their dedication to God. And so, it's saying that a foreigner residing among the Israelites must have all males in his household circumcised. The Israelites did as Moses and Aaron were commanded by the Lord. There were very strict rules that God wanted the Israelites to obey and to adhere during the Passover. And God spared the Israelites, and He spared their sons. And like I mentioned, Passover is still celebrated today by Jews. And so what did you learn from this chapter? I thought it was really interesting to learn about this, and I knew about it, but not into this much detail. And so I'm really excited to learn and read more about the parting of the Red Sea, which is probably coming up pretty soon. But if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you join our little community here of Christians. It's so nice talking with you in the comments. Please share this video, like it if you liked it. It helps for YouTube to pick up my videos in the algorithm. I post a new Bible study video every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I can't wait to study the Bible with you again.